Hey, everybody, it's Christian Buckley doing another MVP Buzz Chat, talking today with Justin. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. And so, for folks that don't know you, who are you? Where are you? And are you going to play a song for us on the grand piano back there? And what
Yeah,
do you
right.
do? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Justin. I'm actually out in Colorado, in a place called Westminster, Colorado, just right on the border of Broomfield. Think about it as between Denver and Boulder, right on the Front Range. So
Yeah.
it's actually a high plains desert. Everybody thinks Denver's in the mountains. As the famous funny joke goes from a movie back in the day, Dumb and Dumber. So no, it's high plains desert, but I really enjoyed out here. I started into the dynamic space back in '07, um, with a small partner, and we started the AX practice there, and it grew quite a bit, and I really enjoyed it.
Was was that
In
was that before or after Microsoft did the acquisitions? Because that's
Oh, that
right
was
around the
before.
time.
That
Yeah.
was
Okay.
'07 when we started it. It was primarily a Lawson and GP and Manhattan and AS400 consultancy firm, and then yeah, they hired a couple devs and a functional to start up the AX practice back in 4.0, and then we had some 3.0 customers, and so been doing Dynamics for a long time. Started hitting the road there at the end of 2007, and and that was pretty fun. But then I found out, boy, you're on the road a lot. You gotta find some kind of hobbies to keep you busy. So I ended up blogging, and as I was writing scripts, I was putting them on Notepad, and I was just saving them to my C drive. Right, it's what we did back in the day. So then I had a bunch of these just notes just everywhere, and then I have to go and I have to search them. And I'm like, well, it'd be easier if I just blogged. So I started a blog spot, and so I just started making posts about that. And so over time, it picked up. It did well. I didn't get any viewers, or no one I don't think was reading any of my blogs for years, until probably like 2009, 2010, and then it was mainly just for me to go in and start to remember stuff, and then got really into it in 2011, 2012, 13. You'll see a lot of blogs kind of pick up around that time period, and I just really enjoyed it. It was something I was very passionate about at the time, and helped other people out and got me pretty plugged into the community. So then I started doing community events in 2012. What was really funny about that was what I posted about were just mainly like tips and tricks, right? Or like, hey, here's
Hmm.
a script to do X, Y, Z. This is how
Hmm.
I solved, this one scenario. And for a long time, I just kind of blogged under a pseudonym named Dax Dude, and so no one actually knew who I was. I was just some dev going to these conferences, which was awesome. Um, but people would know the Dax Dude name. But what's nice about that was, it kind of had a little bit of an anonymity to it. I wasn't sure. I was just a kid back then, right out of college. Like, if I'm posting this out there, is this what I'm supposed to do? There were a couple other bloggers in the space at the time, but I didn't know if people would call these trade secrets or whatnot.
Yeah.
They really weren't. Now that I'm older and smarter, but I didn't want to be reprimanded or anything for helping out competition or whatever. I don't know how it would have been viewed. It wasn't viewed that way, but who knows. So yeah, then I lifted the veil a little bit in 2013, kind of attached my name to it here and there, and then got the Microsoft MVP in 2014, and got way involved in in person is kind of where my passions went, instead of blogging, to community events and having more of that
Uh,
one-on-one connection with people and solving their issues, not necessarily just the ones I'm coming across, and had a lot of fun. So had a lot of adventures over the years. Yeah, they had the acquisition of that firm in 2021, and then started my own company with two other people in 2022. Had a
mhm.
blast, with that one, and then had some friends over at Kafka Code, some other Microsoft MVPs, and my passions found that to be a little bit more with where I'm seeing my career trajectory wanting to go.
Mhm.
More boutique, onshore, other MVP type consultancies, so advisory and whatnot. So it's been
Well,
fun.
and this space is really taken off too. I remember going to back when it was Tech Ed still, before things got shuffled and rebranded as Ignite and Build and that stuff. Um, and there was not a lot of of promotion around, even from Microsoft, around the dynamic space. There were things that the parts that were there. I mean, I only got familiar with some of the aspects of it because when I was at Microsoft and I left in 2009, I interacted with those teams a little bit with some of our partners and clients. And so I just happened to be aware of and actually had a couple of my direct reports that I sent out to go work with the Great Plains team, actually sent
Hmm.
out to the Dakotas and um, had some back and forth with some projects we were working on. But I know that Satya had a background in the dynamic side of things. And so when he
Yep.
became CEO, we all just kind of said to each other, as in the partner world, like, they're going to finally go in and make some of the investment that we see here.
Yep.
And just over the last 10 years, and me being in the collaboration side, I've seen a number of partners where there's like, okay, we're largely a collaboration stack, consultancy, like 10-20% of our business is dynamics, to where it's completely flipped. And where now they're more dynamic shop, they're doing that side. It's the faster growing, expanding part of their business. Not that there's not a lot of collaboration stuff happening, but there's a lot of saturation of those pieces. But I mean, you've really been in it since the beginning of that to see a lot of that change.
Yep. Yeah, the transition from on-prem to the cloud. So I have a lot of skill sets that I don't use anymore, like specking out servers and
Yeah.
ESX doing bare bones, installs of the servers for VMs on site in the server closets. Don't have to do that anymore. I'm not going to say I miss it.
So would you still? So it's funny when you mentioned Blogspot too. So I started mine on TypePad. So remember,
Oh,
kind of,
okay. Hmm.
just the same era.
Yep.
And finally, I was late to migrate mine over to WordPress. But would you say that writing, blogging, is that still your primary, or have you moved off to doing other types of uh, uh, of of your contributions into your MVP?
Yeah, so I've migrated away probably around 2014, 15 from the blogging to being more in person, the community events, more formal presentations, um, more mentorship, right? A lot more, someone right out of college wants to get into this space, or maybe someone who is a warehouse worker wanting to get into things a little bit more. Maybe it was somebody working as a retail sales associate. And we're getting ready to do a dynamics implementation for them,
Mhm.
and they want to be part of it, right? So then they're part of the core team to give, experiences and ideas about what the future system should be designed for, based on their role. Then I'll get with them and teach them all the ins and outs and tips and tricks, and hopefully turn them into their own little internal consultants, right? So that they can actually implement and adopt. And so I do a lot of that these days. Probably about 15 to 20 people are on my radar at any given moment to help them create, custom learning plans. How do you navigate around Microsoft Learn? Um, you know, how many certs should you look at getting during the year, and then how can you actually apply that, to whatever they have in their pipeline?
Well, that's what I always try to give advice here. I mean, I love learning about people's MVPs origin stories, how they found out about it. And there are a lot of MVPs that are actively, providing guidance, coaching to people that, are kind of up and comers. Fellow MVP and I, Sharon Weaver and I, have a cohort where we've been running for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, where 8 of our people in our cohort have earned their MVPs.
Oh,
And
nice.
which it's I mean, and Microsoft loves that. They want to, obviously the product teams are out, they're paying attention, they're interacting with people, they'll highlight different people, but where we can provide that guidance and help people to understand, what are the things that they could do, how do they actually track and have measurable contributions, the things that are valued within the community to be able to become an MVP, any guidance we can provide. I mean, they absolutely love that. And so it's always good to know about people like yourself that are actively out there doing coaching. I always say to people, it's like, find, if you're following, you're reading, you're watching videos from an MVP that you really feel a connection to, like, reach out and connect with them.
Mhm.
That's your first step. So I don't know if any other guidance you would give to people that are interested, especially in your world and on the dynamic side of the house, that want to become MVPs. What do you usually tell those people?
Yeah, great question. So, there's a lot of people over the years, doing interviews and recruiting and stuff for organizations. And I mentioned the MVP. They're like, actually, I really want to become an MVP. I'm like, oh, cool. Why? They're like, oh, it'd be great on the resume. I'm like, ooh, I don't know. That's a really tough driver. I mean,
Yeah.
do I think I've ever, do I think having that MVP title has helped me out very materialistically in something? Maybe. I don't think it's a direct correlation for anything, but I think it's a banner that like you're passionate about what you're doing more than anything else. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean that you're an expert at everything in which you have the MVP designation. That's a little bit of a, you know, it's misunderstood. It's more of a I'm really passionate about D365 commerce as an example, right? Or
Mhm.
Microsoft Learn, like that's what I care about. Not that I know everything. So
Well, that's why you
that
have there's certifications. There's things out
yeah,
there for that level of technical expertise, and obviously, there's a lot of technical depth in the MVP community. That's why
mhm,
we're here as well. But you're right. I always tell people, I said, look, I was doing this stuff, this type of stuff for community before I became an MVP. I'll be doing it after I'm an MVP. This is just part of who I am.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's it's tough to go down the road of saying I'm going to be an MVP for something other than the fact I'm doing something, and MVP just kind of comes along with it, and that's kind of a little bit of a motivator to keep doing it. So like the blog posting, hey, it's great to go out there, put your thoughts down, get on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a really good way to post your thoughts and actually have people react to it. I got into the LinkedIn stuff a little bit more. Probably I don't know 2-3 years ago. I'm still not as active on there as I'd like, but it's kind of interesting. Is when I was blogging from 2008 until like I don't know 2011, I still didn't have any traction. I got excited when I had like 10 page views in like a week, like across all my
Yeah.
different blog stuff. But I had like 50 articles out there. I was just yelling into the abyss, but I knew I didn't care because I was just going to search it on my own anyways and be like, oh, I got something about the global cache and why that's probably doing what it's doing in the app. I'll pull that up real quick and saved my rear a couple times and I couldn't remember how I solved an issue.
Yeah.
So I think if people are doing it for the right reason, they find something that they're passionate about. It's like just go for it and then find an activity that supplements that helps you also in turn grow. The best teachers, they're always learning, right? And
Yeah.
I learn when I teach all the time from everybody in the crowd. So it's a good way to grow, but just make sure that those are supplementing each other and find the area you want to invest in and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Start a podcast or whatever. Everybody has
Yeah.
a podcast these days, right, Christian?
Yeah. Well, no, it's funny, like this stuff, because when I started blogging was much the same way. It was
Yeah.
I would tell people this. I said it's really just an extension of my brain, so I can remember things, track things, and I would find sometimes, I've been a long time OneNote guy.
Oh yeah,
Is that
ditto.
well, I research through my OneNote first because like, did I capture notes on this? Sometimes I surprise myself. I'll be I'll do a search in OneNote for something and find that yeah, I took notes at a conference on that date. I never went further with it. I didn't blog on it or talk to anybody. Like just I had it in the notes and I captured something. And I usually like capture a statement that I try to quote, paraphrase the quote of somebody and then grab an external resource and then jot down a couple bullets of my thoughts. But I mean, that kind of research, raw research, I'll go and I'll find something. And then a year or two later, as I'm writing another blog, I'll incorporate these notes from previous. And then sometimes the blogs, again, it's an extension of me, of my brain. I'm capturing this stuff. Like I just posted now, I think they're all live or one more to go live, a 9-part blog series. It was just some questions that came out of a presentation. I went and ran with it, expanded on it, and rather than have a 4,500 word blog post, I broke it up into different pieces,
Mhm.
which helps me organize it in my brain, and hopefully somebody finds value out of it someday.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's a good approach too. I know there's been a lot of talk in the MVP community around quantity versus quality. And so some people will have one gigantic blog post that has like a month's worth of research in it. And then some people literally have like a sentence on something and on its own, it doesn't. So they're trying to pump quantity versus the quality. And I think you found a happy medium there with, logically segmenting everything up and having one flow to the next. I think it's a
Well,
great formula.
I'll be honest. I used to write the lengthy posts, and but
Ditto.
I'm a marketing guy, and so I've been in the technical side of marketing most of my career, and so It's a conscious effort to go break that up into a more consumable content. I mean, I have the problem now. I do the long form podcast, and I've had a number of people say that, and my average of like the numbers are going up on one of my shows, which is great to see. Where we're getting 3 to 5,000
Oh, wow.
views on the video on the podcast, and people are telling me, it's like, yeah, but Christian, it's 50 minutes long. You need to go chop that up and do some other things. I'm like, yeah, it's out there, it's live, it's done. I've done it for the long form. But where I'm getting an average watch of those long form is like 14 minutes. And so if you're aware of like the data points, like that's really good for an 50-minute video to get 14-minute average of viewing of that. But there are smarter ways of doing it. If I had more time, I'd go
Right.
chop that up and spread it out. I don't care about having higher number of videos out there. I would like to present it in a way that gets, more people will find it and would probably get it through that other format. I don't know. I'll work my way through, get there to where I'm instead of publishing that long form, or maybe do the long form and then having the shorts in support of that.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting comparison, right? So we have that long form like a blog, and then you can have fairly big blog posts. You can split it into 9, but then when you have a 50-minute long form podcast and with a video, it seems like the industry has been favoriting like 15-second, 30-second like quick reels. So
Yeah.
pretty different than the approach for blogging. And to be honest with you, I've not gotten into the video production side of anything yet. I think once I pick up some hobbies, we're redoing our basement. I've got a 18-month-old, 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old. When
Yeah.
I can find some time, I'd love to pick that up because it does seem pretty fun. It's a cool medium.
Yeah, it's well, like anything, and this is something that advice that I give to people that want to become MVPs. And I always say that's like you've got to be passionate about it. You have to enjoy doing it. And like I was doing this stuff, and I would do this stuff. It's just it's what I enjoy doing, whether or not I'm an MVP. But if you are having to go above and beyond, like you said, like you want to get into it, maybe eventually when it becomes one of your hobbies to go and do the video, then it just becomes a natural extension of and fits right in. But if you just said, I'm going to force myself to do it and it's painful to go and do it to have this contribution, it's hard to sustain that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's interesting. I didn't even correlate that I called it a hobby. That's how I view the MVP stuff is it's a hobby.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my time between family, my kids, I used to do a lot of home brewing. I used to make kombucha and wine and beer and everything. And the MVP, blogging under Dax dude always kind of competed with the yard work and the blogging and my brewing and all of that, right? So it's like here's Justin's time. I got to split it out, and so then usually that the blogging kind of came in as my hobby when I was on the road, right? Or
Yeah.
sitting at the bar top at Applebee's, and it's like, well, I want to kind
Well,
of turn my brain off and do something other than work for a second.
Well, there's something to be said about it. So I've been, it's like I'm doing something now. I'm at 3 years and 3 months of daily blogging,
Oh,
which is,
nice.
and again, I always say that there's the, so as you were, I was kind of chuckling to myself as you say, there's the quality over quantity, and I said, well, I've definitely got the quantity. I'm not making claims that everything is high quality. There's some really good content in there, but it's there's a direct correlation to when I became an empty nester. So I
Oh.
don't have the problems that you have. I'm saying problems.
Yeah.
I don't have like that stuff is gone. I'm just
Yeah.
like, and so it is like a hobby of mine. And I enjoy, I mean, writing is my number one, contribution type, my passion. I like writing. And that's how I learn, is to go research something, write about something. But again, you've got to enjoy it. It's got to fit in. You can't force it.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and it's okay if you're like, hey, I'm not doing enough that I think to become an MVP. It's like, but if you're participating in the community, I mean, you're benefiting, you're helping other people, you're getting help. It's a good thing, regardless of whether you get the title of MVP or not.
Right. Yep. Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah, we were talking about my little piano back here that I like to play, right?
yes,
Um, I was a musician for a long time up until I started. I guess I still am. I'm a karaoke musician, I guess, but I used to do a lot of recording and stuff back in the day as a singer and a terrible guitarist, but I like to pretend I'm good at it. But I was actually a decent singer. But once you get to a certain point in your career and you're making money on it, it becomes a job, right? There's like the yay, it's a hobby for me, and I'm so excited, and then it's like this is my career, right? I can't wait to stop doing it.
yeah,
Um, I think is the way I view it. Like during the day, I'm like, all right, I enjoy solution architecting and coding and some of that stuff. And then I'm like, yay, I get the blog.
yeah.
So
It's well, hey, we all go through phases around that stuff too. So
yeah,
but yeah, it's all good. I mean, I say, around MVP, it's always like, what are you most passionate about? And if you can, I mean, if you're excited about technology, if you're passionate about this, you're finding other ways to do things and give back and contribute to the community, then you're, potentially on the path to become an MVP. I mean, that's what we do. It's, I've seemed to have found a sweet spot where I have a balance where I'm able to do a lot of that community stuff
mm,
and get paid to do stuff that I really enjoy. So, that's always a good thing.
yeah. Well,
Well,
cool.
Justin, really, really appreciate your time, and
Yeah,
let you get back to your piano playing there. But
yeah.
I always like to
I'm,
ask, yeah, I always like, it's in the matrix there. For folks that want to reach out and connect with you, find you, where are you most active in social? Where can they find you?
honestly, LinkedIn is the biggest one. Yeah, I still have my blog, daxdude.blogspot.com. I don't really update that as much. If you comment on those, I guarantee you I'm not going to respond just because I don't even check the comments anymore. But I still get, good, couple thousand or like 10, 15,000 page views a month on that, but I'm not
Great.
really updating it. So LinkedIn, yeah, just drop me a note. I'm really passionate about the Microsoft Learn stuff. I've worked with the Microsoft Learn team for, a number of years now, probably going on almost 10 years, in the exams and content creation world. So I'm always happy to answer any questions, concerns. Oh my God, those renewal cert exams, they're so tough. Why are they so tough and only about new things? Well, they're open book. Open book isn't supposed to be easy. Go out there and search for things, and if you know them, great. But given little tidbits and help, I'll always try to help where I can. Um, one team, one dream, man. We're a small community.
Yeah,
I think that's what makes us great and strong.
that's great. Well, hey, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. Good talking to you, man.